Welcome back to the Wizard Weekly, where we talk about everything in gaming. The only thing more guaranteed than the fact that there's still a Christmas tree up in your house and it's going to remain there for the first few months of the new year, that's right, I can still see it, is the fact that we're still getting Nintendo Switch 2 leaks and rumors since it's been over a year of the company blueballing their fan base into not showing so much as a glimpse of what this console looks like, officially at least. And I've talked about every major one so far, but let's add another layer to that pancake just for the fuck of it, because it was recently shown by some sort of insider that the peripherals and accessories with the Switch 2, like, you know, the new magnetic Joy-Cons and even like a new wheel that's going to go with those Joy-Cons to have a racing accessory that's been teased for the past couple of days, those are going to go on sale along with the console, according to this insider, on March 28th, 2025. Now, this leak with no proven backing, like always, comes from the Italian video game website called 𝐿, which sounds like a treatment for a gynecologist. They broke the news a couple days ago after speaking to a very reliable source who chose to remain anonymous for obvious reasons. Now, the date of March 28th, 2025 is the street date for the peripherals like the Joy-Cons and whatnot, but it's pretty safe to assume that if this is the case, I don't think they would sell the peripherals first before, you know, selling the Switch 2. So this is why they're coinciding that this is going to be the date for both those things to drop. And whether this person is talking out their ass or not, it does kind of make sense, at least in the logic that we've had based on Nintendo's past moves. You know, they would release a teaser for the Nintendo Switch in late 2016, and then by January they'd reveal it, and then by March it was finally out. I think March 3rd, March 2nd, something like that. Even going on past business moves by Nintendo was even the cool thing to do right now, since, you know, we didn't even have a September Nintendo Direct event showcase. Like, they always have one in September and we didn't even get that. Like, I just feel like they're in the same position as Rockstar Games with Grand Theft Auto 6, and the fact that, you know, they know there's just so much hype for this thing to release, and they know whenever they feel like dropping it, it's gonna do numbers and, you know, be the talk of the internet for however long until it finally drops. Regardless of how you feel about Nintendo and their weird business decisions, or how they're trying to, you know, break gaming down to its bare bones with this whole game patent shit they're trying to go after, they don't really have to worry too much about competition as far as, like, you know, their Switch and how they time it or release it. But I still do want to think that we're going to get an announcement in January, and then hopefully by March, like this leak says, you know, it'll finally come out finally. That's just what I think. Moving on, a couple days ago, one of Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO's Hermen Hulst, he had a pretty insightful interview with the Japanese outlet of Famitsu, and it's a pretty interesting interview to look at if you're, you know, a fan of Sony. Now, I gotta say, this isn't the most interesting interview I've ever read, because he really just gives like these corporate safe answers that you would find probably like a freaking Sony website on like the FAQ site or some shit, and it really seems void of anything, you know, nitty gritty. But, you know, there was two things that I did find interesting out of this interview, and the first thing was when Hermen was asked about how he plans to balance the PS5 business with PC development in the future, and he claimed that, you know, live service titles like obviously Helldivers 2 and whatnot, the purpose of that is to put it in as many players' hands as possible. So he plans on putting, well, the company plans on putting more of these types of games on multiple platforms at launch. Obviously something that we already knew, but what I found funny was when he said, we always prioritize providing the best experience to our players, and as part of that, we are also promoting linking PSN accounts on PC. Promoting. If you guys remember that Helldivers 2 shit, they forced you. There wasn't no promoting on this. They were forcing it down your throat. And when the public backlashed on that, they went back on that decision only to remove the game from being bought in any region that doesn't have PSN, along with pretty much every other new Sony interactive game that comes out on PC. And, you know, obviously it's just a numbers thing. You know, we all saw their overall year analytics where they show, like, you know, what's growing and what's not and whatnot. Like, they have a whole section for PSN accounts. Like, they want that section to keep growing, because that's, you know, as a business, you have to always keep growing and shit. So I found that quote just hilarious. And then he was asked about what is his thoughts on utilizing dormant IP. Now, PlayStation, just based on, you know, the schemes that we have in Astrobot, they have a lot of dope ass IP that we haven't seen new iterations of in literal decades. You know, the one that comes to mind for me personally is Killzone, which Hermen, before he was CEO, he was the head leader of Guerrilla Games, which did the Killzone franchise. But he claims, and obviously vague words, like I said, our extensive IP portfolio is an important asset for PlayStation, as part of our efforts to strengthen our portfolio. We continue to explore opportunities to leverage our legacy IP as well as develop new franchises. he said a lot of shit without saying anything. I would love to see some of these older games, like, you know, what is it, Parappa the bear? I forgot his fucking name. I guess Sony, they aren't going to do anything that doesn't make sense on a, you know, a massive financial scale value. Like, they want to make sure that whatever they invest in is going to make a lot of that money, and well, all of that money and then some back. And I don't know if all those older IPs can, you know, generate that kind of revenue, even with, you know, a new console, new graphics and whatnot. Like, the best bet that we're going to have, like we've been having for the past couple of years, is to either have a remake or a remaster of these titles, which is, you know, not obviously not a simple process, but way easier than creating an entire new game from the ground up. And if that's as close as we're going to get, then I guess that's fine with me, but I would still love to see these IPs be brought back to life. And moving on, I got to channel my inner Nickelback and tell you guys to look at this graph. These are the amounts of games released on Steam every month since 2006, being accounted here on SteamDB. Now, what you see right here, the most recent peak in December of 2024 is 1,500, but that's not even, you know, what I'm trying to show you. The mass scale of all this is the fact that in 2024, 18,949 games have been released on this platform, and that's not even counting all the games that were coming out in all the past years. Now, the reason I'm showing you guys this is because a couple months ago I made a video called "Nostalgia is Killing Your Gaming" or some shit like that. And basically the sentiment in that video was me trying to, you know, persuade people that want to get back into gaming, or, you know, just somehow lost it without growing out of it, like, you know, getting older, and they just don't think that there's any good games being made at all. And don't get me wrong, you know, there's a lot of ass out there. Of the 18,000 that we just saw on 2024, there's probably like a good maybe 17,000 that you would never want to play in your life. So that could potentially leave 1,000 games that you might be, you know, interested in, because the trend of nostalgia on the internet is just, you know, ever growing, and if I've ever seen it before. And, you know, I'm obviously a fan of nostalgia. You know, I have whole segments where I just look at old shit just to feel something. But again, more and more people, especially like younger people that are around like my age, are saying that, like, the games just, there aren't any good games at all. And I just think that, you know, based on these numbers, 18,000 on Steam alone, you know, we're not even counting PlayStation, Xbox. I only want to say Nintendo Switch because most of that shit is just, you know, bloatware and AI generated Eldora games. The industry as a whole is making a shift towards independent games, or, you know, games that aren't made by any of these companies with, you know, agendas of monetary gain to have. And there's never been a better time to hop on that train, since a lot of people are getting tired of the current industry and are growing up to, you know, develop their own games and, you know, shift the industry in a way where games prioritize being fun again. So, you know, if you know you need that nudge, you know, here it is, 2025, play new games. And speaking of new games, I want to briefly, you know, talk about and shed some light on a really dope ass game that I did not expect to enjoy when I did, and that is the newly released game of 𝐒𝐈𝐄𝐈𝐄𝐈. And I saw the game last week on sale during the holiday season, and it is a psychological horror game where you play as a game developer that has this app where you start off by taking care of this anime waifu looking character named Mita, you know, Goodness Rejoice, and then the character likes you so much that she brings you inside of the game, which is obviously, you know, a call for a really fun horror presence, because when you ask questions like, you know, how did I get here, how do I get out, you know, why is there a chainsaw in here, it all starts going left. And the story continues to dump just how much lore is within this game and how many different versions of Mita is in here that are mostly out to kill you, basically. And it's very, very off-putting. Like, I don't play psychological horror games at all because that's just not my thing. I don't like being scared. I'm easily scared. So, you know, playing this game, I almost shit myself at least twice, 3 times, not even gonna lie to you guys. But the game is so well made that there's a new mechanic almost in every, you know, new section of the game, whether it's from, you know, running from the enemies to playing arcade games and running from the enemies at the same time. Shit gets weird. It's a very fun game that shifts its art style and gameplay loop almost instantaneously, which is really fun and, you know, captivating. So if you know, have the chance to play this game, especially if you like horror type games, I'm sure by now your favorite YouTuber has played it, because, you know, horror games on YouTube is like a really big thing. So even if you don't play it, you'll likely see someone else play it and you'll enjoy it just as much. I just wouldn't say that the horror is like the main like takeaway from this game afterwards. Like, I feel like the lore and just deep diving into all these characters and, you know, what they represent after you play the game is what is the cake of you know, me side. It retails for 15, so it's not a crazy expensive game. So, you know, obviously get it whenever you get the chance, but I still think that 15 is a pretty fair price for this amazing later year title of 2024. And that's all I got for today, man. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.